most of you guys are aware with the absolute madness Dutchavelli's been getting himself into over the last couple of days, and I don't know, man. It's a hard one, isn't it? Don't know where to start with the old Dutchavelli stuff. It's difficult. So again, to give you a bit of context, basically on the issue, earlier on in the week, or earlier on, I think last week, some soddy hacker somewhere who I'm sure Dutchavelli and his team want to basically identify and probably hang up on a bridge somewhere, some little scrawny hacker or big hacker, whoever this hacker kid was, managed to get inside of various people's phones and leak various DMs. And Dutch Ravelli's was unfortunately one of those people. And the first few DMs were with him, with Drake. You know, they were a bit cringy, they were a bit embarrassing. It was basically like a one-way conversation. Him tagging Drake in those of his Instagram stories, sitting down, rolling a zoo, listening to Drake's music in the background, asking him if he could start over in London and getting crickets. Like, just horrible, right? Loads of messages to Drake and scene. Like, that's probably my worst nightmare. Fair enough, Drake is your friend or your industry friend. The worst nightmare would be sending a message to somebody like that, like heartfelt, right? Because I'm sure, you know, the kids, you forget as well, Dutchavelli's 26, 27, right? So Drake is his Jay-Z, innit? This is like the dude at the moment. So you can imagine how excited you are at that time. You know, you've just become, you know, really successful. Your sister's doing bits in the scene. Drake loves you as an individual. Blah 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 blah. It's not like even a co-sign thing. He actually appreciates what you're doing as an artist, and you're just gas off him. And you know, London and the UK has a special connection with Drake anyway. We sort of love him like no other place, probably outside of the United States, maybe outside of Canada. So I can understand he is kind of wanting to connect, right? But you know, that's been my worst nightmare. Somewhere that's be your friend, and then you send a message, and it's just seen. It's like, that's why I would never, you know, whoever follows me on there, and you will know for the most part. But anyone of any sort of influence or notoriety, like, I'm not texting or messaging you. But regardless, anyway, move on. That's where he does that. So far, messages are not too bad. Then of course, it starts to get weird when he gets into a conversation with this. What's that girl's name again? Tesnados or Tizendas, whatever her name is, some girl, right? Again, no offense, but I don't really know these people too tough. But anyway, she's I guess a UK rapper, female rapper, right? And she's, you know, very high pitched voice, very young, very scrawny looking. So she kind of is deceptively young, but you know, from what I've read online, she's 18 years old. So it's just weird to see that, right? First of all, and then you see the images of the other blonde girl that he kind of supposedly allegedly hooked up with, and a few others. And what I instantly took away from that was that, okay, this guy clearly doesn't have a type, right? He's clearly like, you know, he's clearly welcoming of all sizes, colors, and creeds. That's a good thing. But it's also quite evident, I thought, in just looking at the girls who allegedly were involved with him, that he probably doesn't have that much experience. Again, this is not a part for the guy, because I don't want to get beaten up, but he definitely doesn't have that much experience with girls, it feels like, because there was no real pattern in terms of the kind of bad bees he was sort of hitting up. They're all just random. That could be because it's a UK dude, right? And I'm only seeing this through the lens of a US rappers, right? Maybe UK dudes are a little bit more, you know, international with their taste, yeah, or women they kind of get involved in. But that already is kind of a bit of a sign, a red flag for me, because that is usually a sign of somebody being extra horny when they just, you know, lap up anything that slides into their DM. So I was like, God damn it. And then of course, little by little, more DMs come out, and then allegedly there's this DM with Dutch supposed to be talking to a 14-year-old who was allegedly a family friend of an ex-manager or something like this, which is really bizarre. And the messages themselves were just like if that was my friend, I just look at it that way, because I think generally people, I don't know what it is, but we generally don't have sympathy for celebrities or people of influence, you know, people of notoriety, public figures. We just don't have any sympathy. I don't know what it is. Some people don't deserve it, I guess, through their actions. I understand, but for the most part, I would try to extend some level of civility and sort of understanding to a situation. So I would say, if that was my friend, number one, you shouldn't be talking to any 14-year-old in the DMs, right? If that was my mate, I'd say don't talk to any 14-year-old in the DMs. I don't care if that's your friend, your sister, like nothing. Like, I wouldn't want to be talking to my sister on flipping DMs or Instagram live, right? I'd be like, get off my DMs, and then call me, text me. Do you know what I mean? Direct conversation. We don't need to be sliding into each other's DMs and sending each other heart eye emojis or flame emojis. That's just inappropriate. It's not on, especially with a family friend, right? It's just weird, right? Fair enough with your family. I understand the lines can be blurred. If it's an actual blood family, yeah, you should contact whatever. But if it's your kind of extended family and there's sort of that little bit of a gap and barrier anyway, you always looked a bit as the older, you might have looked after her when she was younger and stuff, it just seems a bit odd enough. And then, of course, the added side of it is that they actually are family, so it makes it extra disgusting. So you're looking at that and you're like, Jesus Christos. And again, we don't know what happened. The messages could be construed one way. It's not, it's when you shouldn't be judging people via the court of public opinion. But in terms of optics, in terms of what we just see so far, the evidence is not good. It really isn't good. And I guess a lot of the evidence out there is obviously paints him out in a bad way, but the thing that makes it worse is the reactions, right? The reaction from the dude who is, I think, the son of the manager that passed away, the Dutchavelli's ex-manager. Him obviously basically going at what's her name, going at Steph London in the DMs. Actually, let me try and get that up here now so I can show you here. Right, the brother actually like going at Steph London in the DMs, and you can see, you can read in the background Steph London's message where she's insinuating in a roundabout way that the kid is unhinged because his father passed away or whatever. It just really looks bad, because if that was a nothing situation, there's really no need for Steph London to come out, allegedly, if that's according to what we see online, that hard and essentially gaslight, I guess, the dude, right, and paint him out to be some way in order to kind of justify allegedly the actions of her brother. And this, I guess, is the image here, which is courtesy of You Heard It Here First on the Twitter. So I'll zoom in a bit here. Conversation between Steph London and the 14-year-old cousin, son of Dutchavelli's manager who passed away. So this is the message that she sent allegedly. It says, "Send your number, please." And I'm guessing that he uploaded this as well. So this is not even from the hacker. And she's continued to say, "It's mad what you're actually trying to do to my brother. I spoke to Anne and she explained everything, and you deleted bare messages to make it look mad." Which, again, that could be the case, but still, my fault remains. If you're my friend and you're telling me, look what my 14-year-old cousin is sending me, I'm going to tell you, why are you messaging your 14-year-old cousin? You know what I mean? That'd be a serious conversation. That'd be a slap your phone out of your hand situation, especially if you're Dutchavelli and I'm your friend. I mean, you're my meal ticket out of the ends. I'm not going to let you fuck this up by being extra horny in the DMs. Like, allow it. It continues. Dutch might have gone about stuff wrong with you guys' friendship, but I'm sure it all could have been sorted out. I'm sure this is not what your dad would have wanted, as he was the guy who brought you lot together, which is, again, you can't be putting on people that. Should I take it back? No, you can. I understand, right? That's her baby brother, right? She's gonna do whatever she can to protect the dude. And I think some people are maybe chastising Steph London a little bit too unfairly. Yeah, like, she's not gonna come out and just label her brother a nonce. That's not gonna happen. She's gonna defend him as best she can, especially if she thinks it's a private conversation. So that I don't really pay too much mind to. But again, it makes Dutch look worse. If this obviously is a nothing situation, you don't need to go to these sort of lengths. It continues here. He says, "I'll be praying for you, Cody." Jesus Christ. "Honestly, deep down, I know you're a good kid, and I'm really sorry you had to go through the pain of losing your dad. Please find someone to talk to and don't hold all your emotions in." Like, how dare you? Come on, man. That's a piss day. You can't talk to people like this. I suggest you tell the truth. So, of course, I'll play a little bit of the guy actually talking so you can hear what he had to say about the situation, because he's not happy at all.
"Steph, listen, you know what this is about, innit? Like, your brother's grooming a 14-year-old child, flirting with her, asking to see pictures of her toes, and getting the jacuzzi and the hot tub, and you see it, you know it as well, and that's what's fuckery. Like, come on, man, like, you got a daughter yourself. There's vulnerable girls that look up to you. So see, if you're advocating for this type of fuckery, it just says for yourself. I know, obviously, it's your family, it's your brother. You're going to want to have to say something, because that's what, it's a certain responsibility. But you better say the right things as well, innit? Because you and I know, Steph. You know the fuckery that's been going on. Come on, man. Like, you know the fuckery that's been going on. Seriously. Like, what can I say? Like, it's grooming. He's grooming. Yeah? My dad.
Which, is just. And again, this is just, again, if we just believe what we see online, we don't know this whole truth of the matter, but still, the optics look absolutely terrible like terrible. There's no situation or no circumstance, in my opinion. Again, if he's my friend, there's no situation or circumstances that I would think it would be appropriate for one of my friends to be talking to a 14-year-old, let alone somebody that was a family member. It just wouldn't be on, especially, and then add all the context to it. Supposedly, this is the daughter or the family member of a manager that passed away. There's just a certain regard and esteem that you would hold that person up that you wouldn't even want to. It's not even something that would even enter your head. That's the actual question regarding. And again, not to put smart in anyone's name, but putting into context, looking at the women that came out, looking at different age ranging, the randomness of them, it all just speaks to somebody that doesn't really have that much experience, being around girls and stuff, and guess is getting gassed up over all the fame that they have and the access and whatever it may be. But still, does it excuse it? Of course it doesn't excuse it, because at the same token, if you've got all that access and you've got the fame and the notoriety that you have, because it made me think, especially even with this whole like stuff with Octavian going on, it's like I don't think these guys really appreciate or value the fact that they're famous in this era doing rap nowadays, right? UK rap or UK hip hop, for the most part, outside of some of the special talents that exist, it's looking like a bit of a cash grab, right? Everyone's sort of deciding to do music now because it's easy, quote unquote, to make it. It's easier to sort of quote unquote get signed. It's easier to gain an audience. And really, oddly enough, right, this is the only era, legitimately, maybe outside of the garage UK funky time when I was kind of coming up, where people on our own shores, UK people actually care about UK artists, sometimes even more so than they care about international acts. It's really freaky. Like, it's the only place I think maybe exists that way. Maybe I would imagine parts of France, Germany, Spain, Italy, or maybe not Spain, Italy, I'd say France, maybe Holland. I'd imagine a lot of their sort of like urban population, right, while mostly infatuated with overseas acts. Whereas in the UK, it's different. Everyone's sort of gassed off of their own kind of local heroes, people from their area, people that they went to school with are kind of blowing up and becoming famous and stuff. It's just an incredible time to be a UK artist right now, right, in terms of actually making money, being a success, and being famous and rich, and having the ability to take your family out from poverty and make great music with people that you kind of looked up to. And of course, if you're just a single dude running the streets, you have access, you have the eyes and the attention of all the bad bees that exist from from Portsmouth all the way up to flipping Edinburgh. So for somebody like himself to get in a situation like this where you're talking allegedly to a 14-year-old, it's just, there's no excuse for it. Like, there is no excuse for it. You have too many options, right? You have too many options. And again, I'm not gonna sit here and say anyone's a nonce or a pedo, because we just don't know, innit? We really just don't know. But putting all of those kind of mad things to one side, if it's just a horniness thing, this is mad unacceptable, isn't it? Like, you have access to basically anyone that you want, for the most part, outside of paying them for their services. Legitimately access to people. Like, why do you need to do this? Like, really, why do you need to do this? And of course, in the UK, we have this, especially if you think about, like, in terms of recent news with that guy that got arrested in Mitcham or South London, that went all over the timeline, that some girl bravely recorded a video of a dude trying to abduct a girl in the midst of a really heinous sexual assault, which gladly social media came to the rescue and kind of identified him very quickly, and he was arrested, I think, within the day or two of it happening. So we're very sensitive to that sort of thing, right? We just don't accept or stand for it in maybe the same way our American customers or our American brothers and sisters do on that side of the pond, innit? We just are very sensitive to the whole pedo kids thing. I definitely understand that. And again, unfortunately for Dutch, and unfortunately for anybody that gets cancelled nowadays or now, it feels like it's the worst time, because everyone's at home, everyone's got nothing to do, everyone's on their phone, so everyone's paying extra attention to the things you're doing. And again, in context of the kid that got picked up in Mitcham, even if you're a fan of the kid, like, what's worse, like seeing the messages that you see here, or seeing what that guy allegedly was doing to that girl in the alleyway and picking her up and trying to take her somewhere? Like, they're probably both in the same category of nastiness, if Dutchavelli situation is to be believed, right? They're both in the same category of nastiness, so you effectively have to treat them the same sort of way. But again, the UK's scene is very, very politically correct, and there's too many kind of there's too many, I guess, relationships at stake, and money as well tied up. And because it's really surprising that you saw Octavian's record label come out pretty quickly and disavow him, right? You saw people in the industry come pretty quickly and disavow him. You saw his situation dry up very, very quickly and even up to his album. But then with Dutch, nothing sort of changed, nothing sort of moved. If anything, we've just had people online sort of debating about it as I am here. And I guess one of his strongest critics so far has been, outside of course his ops or people that kind of want him to sort of fail so they can sort of take his space. Bouncer has some really good things to say about the situation that I've kind of really greatly agreed upon. So let's definitely hear what he has to say here.
Yo, my people, I had to delete my previous post because it compromises the girl's address, and I don't want people going to her house. She must be going through mad trauma, and I apologize to the family. Obviously, but man can't brush this under the carpet. Do you know what I mean? You got Dutch grooming a 14-year-old. Like, this is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. I see UK Gossip posting, I see Shea Barra posted. These other pages need to have the same energy and post and cancel this youth, bro. Because this is madness, you get me? When Wiley done a madness, everyone was posting that. They had that energy.
Good point.
They rubbed him out. Why ain't man posting this? Come on, industry guys, what's going on? Labels, rappers, come on, bro, post this. Like, any female, anyone, if this is anyone, what, is this okay? Bro, the industry is fake. Cancel the industry.
And I guess we've always kind of known that, and I guess, again, not to bring up his name because he has nothing to do with this, but I look at the whole Skep situation and I think to myself, like, if anybody else outside of hip hop or UK rap had two friends go down for what his two friends went down in Sion and what Solo 45 went down for, it'd be very sticky for their career going forward, in it. And I guess in some ways it's quite refreshing because it seems like there is a bit of a keep them at arm's length, let them to do what they're doing over there sort of approach when it comes to dealing with sticky topics or allegations concerning UK rap people and stuff, whatever it may be. But in some regards there's also a lack of like self-policing. I'm not for, I'm not trying to get people to call in a cavalry and get people locked up in Belmarsh, but there needs to be a little bit more self-policing amongst our own quote-unquote community. Not really a community really, because whoever's up is the sort of guy that gets all the blessings and whoever's down doesn't get a look in. But for the most part, if we are a so-called community, there needs to be a lot more policing amongst ourselves to basically be keeping everybody on the on the straight and narrow, because effectively situations like this aren't only fucking up the bag for him, they're fucking up the bag for everybody else that gets associated with him, right? People that have projects lined up, features, videos, loads of money gets messed up due to someone's kind of reckless behavior, disgusting behavior, wherever it may be. So when there's no checks and balances amongst ourselves and then we're having to kind of look to others, it sort of fucks up for everybody else. Because imagine, you have two pretty high profile acts in the UK like Octavian and let's say Dutchavelli get dropped by their labels. That's definitely going to have some sort of effect on other people getting signed. There's going to be a bit of a calling off period. They recently announced they just launched the flipping Def Jam UK division, right? Those things can definitely affect other things down the line, different parts of business. So there needs to be a little bit more accountability in that regard. So I liked what he had to say. There was obviously a comment here by a lady called La 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 Speaks or something. I don't know who that person is, but I saw this posted on the Shade Room as well, on Gossip, sorry. And she says the following: Dutchavelli 27 is a UK rapper. Last week his Insta was hacked and screen recordings emerged that allegedly show conversation between him and a 40-year-old female relative. The conversations mainly involve him reacting with heart emojis and flame emojis to Insta stories, as well as them arranging to meet, which luckily, judging by the DMs again, it didn't look like they actually met in real life. I think this is what basically is saving him, I think, from the looks of it. But it continues. She sent him a picture of a couple where a man is embracing a woman, and behind it he suggests recreating that picture. He also asks for pictures of her feet. Yeah, that's an odd one. So I don't know if that's what Steph London is saying is true about the deleted messages, but she did send him a picture of Ruby Rose and Lil TJ, right, back when they were dating, and they sort of posed in front of a video mirror. Number one, I didn't know that was a thing anyway, that girls like have pictures of other people they don't know and want and kind of look at them longingly. I guess that's where the whole idea about relationship goals comes in, but I didn't know that was a thing. Regardless, that's a thing. So she sent it to him and just sends it, doesn't say anything, and he sort of kind of initiates and pushes for the whole like to get an answer from it, and then offers up a solution. Says, "Oh, we're gonna recreate that one day, babes." It's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, it continues. Whilst the conversation never became explicit, there can be no doubt that in any adult's mind that their exchange is flirtatious and suggestive. He has denied the allegations and gaslit the public by stating that it must be something wrong with us for perceiving that this is being inappropriate. His family and his girl's family have jumped to his defense. Nothing has been mentioned in the mainstream press, which is definitely true. I tried to actually get an article about it online to basically do a rundown, and I couldn't find one. It continues. I wanted to use this opportunity to discuss grooming. She says grooming is an offense where somebody builds up a connection with a person so that they can manipulate and exploit and abuse them, often for sexual purposes. And whilst I'm not stating that this is what Dutchavelli was doing, there are grounds enough in this case for the police to investigate. Yikes. She's definitely going for it. Sexual exploitation of this nature is insidious. Sorry. It happens slowly over time. It creates a scenario where the child feels like they have a real relationship with a groomer. They believe that they're in control and in love. They don't see it as abusive. Adults should not be having suggestive conversations with teens, even if it appears that the teen wants or is enjoying it. That's the basically crux of it. Like I said in the beginning, if that was my friend, I'm not encouraging any communication with teenagers. I just don't understand it. I've never understood it. Don't you guys have like teenage relatives and friends, or little brothers or best friends, whatever, your best friend's little brother, whatever, maybe, or people that you know? Have you spoken to them for prolonged periods of time? Like, it's not the funnest conversations, even if they're girls, right? Girls do mature a little bit quicker than boys do, but talking to a 14-year-old girl is no way equivalent to talking to an actual woman, a person of actual age. So to actually try to involve yourself in any sort of like, romantic relationship or flirtation vibe with them, it's just bizarre beyond belief, in my experience. I don't know about anybody else, but it continues. The teen's willingness is not indication of consent, nor does it lessen the evils of the abuser. A teen is never able to consent to sexualized conversations. The dynamics leave them widely open to harm, grooming, and abuse, and perpetrators are nearly always known to the victim and their family. Often they are family members. We must educate our children on how weird it is for any adult to want to befriend them, and we must create a space where they feel safe to let us know if this is happening, which is true. Don't get me wrong. I definitely think there are some girls out there, especially teenagers, who are very aware that talking to any sort of adult in a sexual nature is obviously not good, right? And it's obviously going to get both people into trouble, and it's obviously something that's going to be damaging to them long term, but they obviously try and do it in secret behind closed doors. The child side of things, that's where I think it's up to responsibility in general. Most adults would say that it's the responsibility of the adult to take child situation and say, hey, this is inappropriate, and step away from it. I think because this whole idea, like, oh, she's coming on to me, what can I do? That's like some creepo bullshit excuse. If you're the adult in this conversation, if you're the adult if you're the adult who's even put yourself in this situation, which you shouldn't have, but imagine it's happened, you're the one that should be put a stop into it, right? Removing yourself from the conversation, alerting somebody else, whatever it may be, but you should be the one taking charge. You shouldn't be allowing or indulging in any of these kind of conversations, because at the end of the day, like, it's just not on. I mean, and there's nothing, you have no leg to stand on really in terms of excusing your actions. But there's actually a statement from the actual girl's family herself, right? So, which makes it a bit hard to continue talking about this, because in essence, they've sort of like put basically a lid on it, and basically said it's not a big issue. Everyone's kind of overreacting, and again, whether or not we think this statement from the family is actually honest and truthful, or whether or not it's a statement that's been bought out, whatever it's been alleged on the timeline, on the social, if the family are okay with it and they're fine with what they see on the DMs, and they've basically chastised the girl maybe in private or what kind of conversation, what more can we do as people? I mean, as basically spectators on the outside? Not really. I don't really sure if police can even investigate this issue if the family said there's no real problem. I'm not really sure, but anyway, the statement from the family is, it reads like it reads like a press release that you would expect from a family trying to rescue a situation that's got way out of hand. And of course, considering what's at stake with, you know, Dutchavelli's career and of course Steph London's career as well, because this affects a lot of money. I'm sure there were a lot of things at stake in terms of putting this together, so they had to do what they had to do. So the official statement says the following: the past few days have been extremely distressing for me and my family. My personal address and family's private Instagram profiles have been exposed on social media, and I feared for our privacy and my daughter's mental well-being. Family business and internal issues are being exposed and manipulated in the most disturbing way. Cool. To excuse someone that me and my daughter see like a family of anything, accused of anything sexual towards a minor is horrifying. Firstly, I'm a mother, and there is no amount of money or anything else that could make me stand by and support anyone who would be even the slightest bit inappropriate towards any of my children, and I would put my own life on the line for my kids and their safety, and nothing is more important to me. Which, some strong words there to open with, but you know, we've all seen cases where family members have done probably the worst things to their own kids or parents, especially, you know, in the pursuit of money, fame, notoriety, whatever it may be. So, you know, whatever. It continues. Nothing inappropriate has ever taken place between my daughter and Dutchavelli. We are always all together in family settings as a group. Messages have been deleted and conversations distorted, such as people claiming he was asking to see pictures of my daughter's feet when it was a professional picture of some of our Chanel shoes on the model's foot. Another photo that is private, that the family joke. There's a private family joke. He says he will recreate that the S sign being shown is being twisted to fit a narrative. Okay, fair enough. There are explanations for the flirtatious message, but the internet and the blogs have a nasty way of turning things around to make it fit a sensational headline. So that thing as well, that supposedly that's to do with the mum. So it's allegedly the mum or whoever, the older adult in his family, was allegedly sending flirtatious messages to Dutch via that young girl's Instagram, which is bizarre to say the least, right? But again, you know, we can't tell people how to parent and we can't tell people how to conduct themselves on social media, but that is their excuse. And then from what they're saying up here, this basically lends credence to what Steph London's talking about the message being deleted. But I don't know, it seems odd, because first of all, I'm sure the message that we saw first got publicized or got brought to our attention because of a hacker, right? And then once those messages came out, whoever that kid is who was kind of getting at Dutchavelli or getting at Steph London via the voice notes, he's the one that then went into his own DMs on Instagram and exposed the message that Steph London sent to him, right? I'm assuming. Or is the hacker that kid? I don't know, but it just, something doesn't add up here. She says, I don't know who hacked the account, and I've never accused my nephew of doing so. I spoke to Steph London to explain the 6 messages that were being spun negatively from situations that were all innocent, but even that was taken out of proportion by the blogs and used against us as a family. I can vouch for all the messages that appear to be inappropriate, that have been leaked to the public and to Stephen's character, and fully understand the context in which the messages were sent. Stephen has been extremely supportive of our family since the passing of my brother-in-law, and the situation is deeply hurtful. I do not take the allegations lightly, and I had the shadow of this, and if I had a shadow of a doubt in my mind, then I will be handling this completely differently. It appears that there are many unhinged and unwell people who are using situations as a way to endorse their own personal vendetta to destroy someone else's entire life, using my 14-year-old daughter as a weapon to further their agenda. If people were genuinely concerned of my daughter and I, they would be stop dragging us through the hell and put a sickening story to an end. That's not really fair, innit? That's kind of obfuscating what's actually happening out there. But hey, the police have been informed, and this is a criminal offense. Therefore, I will be seeking legal action against anyone who continues to publish my child's private messages along with our personal information. The police are not investigating Dutchavelli Stefan, and if they had any concerns at all, they would be taking the things further, and it would not be addressing the situation again. Signed AB. So yeah, I don't know, man. Like, hey, if the family are okay with it and they're fine and they've made their statement, I guess we have to move on. It just is what it is. It's concerning. It's not a really good situation for all involved, but hopefully this is a learning moment for all people, especially men out there, to don't put themselves in situations where you're speaking to a flipping teenager, or, you know, in any way, shape, or form. You don't need to be doing that, especially if you're somebody of notoriety, especially if you're somebody well known. Don't get yourself in trouble for nonsense things because you're just horny on a timeline. You know what I mean? Like, bloody shut down Instagram, load up porn up, whack off and go to bed. Do you know what I mean? You don't need to be speaking to teenagers. And I guess for teenagers out there, it's just gonna be another another learning moment, to basically know that you shouldn't be involved in conversations with adults, especially in a flirtatious manner, under any circumstances, because that's probably grooming. Do you know what I mean? And it's definitely going to cause you a lot of damage and pain in the future. And again, glad nothing really bad happened. Again, to say it's just innocent messages is really reducing what's happened, but it is just messages. It is just stuff we saw online. So far, no one's been actually hurt IRL, and hopefully, you know, all parties can sort of move on from this and sort of gather their thoughts and go from here. But again, it's definitely exposed some flaws in the scene. It's exposed some flaws in the industry, and just basically shown, in some ways, which we all kind of know, in it, if you've got some level of notoriety, you can essentially get away with murder, unfortunately. But hey ho, that is it for that one.